gosh. Okay. This is it. This is it. The Boys season 5. All right. Boys season 5. Let's talk about it cuz everyone seems to be. I've been wanting to make this video for a minute and this show has gone off the rails and just not even a like there aren't even any rails for the show to go off of. It's just nothing. It's nothing upon nothing, and just like crude humor and jokes upon a god complex and nonsense. I don't understand what's going on with Eric Kripke. I don't understand with, maybe it was supernatural, or I don't even know, but it seems he can't write a show without having it end with someone becoming God. I'm not really sure if 10 seasons of a show or whatever it was with Supernatural gave him just this ego that he can just do no wrong, or he just has too many cooks in the kitchen and there's so many ideas going around the writer's room that there's just no real consistency into what's being portrayed within the actual show. Because this has felt like nothing. And it's just like scrambling between these emotional bids for character growth that amount to nothing because they haven't given enough time or even like momentum to anything to actually let it build, or for us to even care. Like Frenchie died and that was like whatever. Like I don't understand what the, like we were supposed to feel something for that, but it was just so poorly done. Like you're telling me he tapped on a wall, Homelander just completely forgot about the vent he was about to go look into, and then just kills him and leaves. It was just, the writing is so, it's like so poorly paced, and just, it's like no one cares. It's like they don't even know who these characters are because they've all changed so much at this point. Like it took them 5 seasons to come up with a reason why Mother's Milk is called Mother's Milk, because they completely uprooted his origin from the comics and completely changed his whole needing his mother's milk thing to be strong or whatever, even though they kind of played into it with this whole body change in between seasons, which was like, answer is in the second last episode of the entire series. He has a monologue where he talks about a pigeon. Like that doesn't even, what kid, like even when he's Marvin's milk, mother's milk, it's like, bro, no kids would, that's not a diss some schoolyard kids would come up with. They wouldn't call you mother's milk. That makes no sense. Like what year are you from? 1938? Like what the fuck was even that? Like that's just like that was amongst a pile of, that was like a crumb of shit amongst a pile of it, you know what I mean? So it's like you can't even, it's all just, it breaks my heart, you know, because it's like the comics were such a good like extreme satire or parody of like superhero genre and corporatism and just kind of fucking the way we do these stereotypes and how we iconize them and all this stuff. But it's and it's like you don't even want to talk shit, but you can't tell me Starlight didn't get no work done. I mean, her face is like, it looks like she's wearing some kind of mask of her own face on top of her face. So it's just like layers of face. It's just so, all she can do is vape. It's just like, it's the only emote she has left is this vaping. Like, what was it all for? Why does it all feel so small? Like they took such a leap with this God thing with Homelander, which is like, why? It's such a fucking huge, like, that is such a huge push to push to the audience to make that believable within the world. Like, you really are making the people within the world seem so stupid and brain dead. And I guess that's the point. Maybe that's the parody or the satire. But at the same time, it just makes the show feel so insignificant and like nothing matters and like nothing anyone is doing matters really. Like, and now that I just seen the dog, it's like so. And they also have Chekhov's dog or whatever. So the big, the big kick is gonna be like Homelander is gonna get fucked by a dog or something. Like what? What was that whole like side tangent thing of like, yo, let's do this with the dog dreaming about Homelander, but then like that was in the last season of the show. The last season, you just had a side quest of a dog who's dreaming about fucking the main villain of the series. And to be real, after what they did with the whatever season it was, season 3 maybe, I forget, I don't even know with the show anymore, but I feel like the way that they're gonna take down the boys is like they got to bring the girls together. It's kind of what they're building up to, where everyone is so useless, except no, even Butcher's useless now. Like, what's he even doing? What's he been doing? He's got tentacles. I don't understand how that's gonna help him at all. And I'm tired. The show is exhausting because it's going in the exact direction that it shouldn't be going. Like, it just feels like they took every wrong turn, wasted every opportunity, every chance they created or had, and now they're just like barreling to the finish line like every other major series that hasn't been able to stick the landing. Most shows released since 2016. Let's just say that. Like, most mainstream shows. And the worst part is what we lost, what this show cost us. Because at one point, Amazon had The Tick. The live action Tick is what they were making. And I think they did 2 seasons of that. And that was an actually good, like, The Tick was like the first like satirical superhero piece of media, I'd say, probably. Like, don't quote me on that, but I would say The Tick was like the OG a satirical superhero content that like became its own kind of universe. It's like Scary Movie, where it's like it becomes its own lane type of thing, where like I love The Tick. The Tick cartoon was so good, and just the way it parodied the tropes of superheroes and kind of like poked fun at it in fun ways and kind of made it this weird, it was almost more akin to like Mystery Men and that kind of parody, where it's more like leaning into the kind of crazy, kooky, kind of mental illness of it all. Whereas this is more just leaning into the, I wouldn't even say power fantasy, but like power corrupts all or something. Like, I don't, it's, but that's what it cost us. That's what this show cost us, is because I'm pretty sure that they would not have done this. Like, they didn't want to have 2 of these kind of similar series going on. So they canceled The Tick after 2 seasons. And then that's when The Boys started coming out. So it's like you can kind of see, even in like the stylization of it, it's kind of along the same lines with how they filmed it and kind of the bringing the kind of comic book aesthetic and kookiness to reality in a weird way. But The Tick just did it better because it was more self-aware, I think, where this feels like it's horribly not aware of what it's doing, what it's trying to do, or even where it hopes to land. It's like just so many ideas being thrown into the air, and now they're trying to catch them all and they can't. So I don't, And just to finish the Amazon superhero content trilogy, like the exact opposite of this would be Invincible, which like deserves its own video in itself, because Invincible is the exact antithesis to what The Boys is. Like The Boys is this silly, stupid image of superheroes in this hyper degenerate, hedonistic kind of, like, not in a bad way, but they did take it in a bad way when they just kind of only leaned on the sex and gore to kind of keep people's attention, and then abandoned all of the character growth and plot elements. But Invincible is the opposite of a satire parody, where it's taking all of the tropes but handling them in a very grounded, not grounded, but in a very serious way. Like, how do we do these things that happen within superheroes, like the recurring villains or stuff like that, but how do you deal with it in a more grounded, like, mentality, I guess you would say. Like, instead of fighting the same villain over and over again, like, what do you do to actually stop these things? Like, how do you be a hero but not let yourself get lost in it? It's almost like very reminiscent of what Spider-Man used to be like when I was a kid, before I discovered all, like, what comic books and the comic book industry is, where it's just a kind of retooling or rehashing of the same things, the same heroes, the same stories, the same events, like multiverses and all that stuff. But when it was just like actually things had stakes and things mattered, before you realized it was all just storytelling and whatnot. But when you thought, like when I watched the original Spider-Man cartoon back in the day, and all of these things were so, like, they meant so much within the reality of the show, like how he was going to solve these problems, like between, especially with Invincible, it's like that's straight up, he straight up nailed that Peter Parker aspect of dealing with your real life and, you know, the masked life, or whatever you want to call it, like the alter egos. How do you balance those two things, and how do you bring, and it's like growing up too, where it's like, how do you create these two versions of yourself that are necessary, but then how do you bring them together to unify yourself as one without one destroying the other? And also just the way Robert, like, because it's the same for like Walking Dead, where it's like, well, what happens after the credits roll? What happens when you face these writing tropes within a certain genre, but in a circumstance where you follow it through to the very end, rather than just ending at a midway point, you know? So I think it's interesting how Amazon has these two kind of opposing versions of this kind of, not the same thing, but along the lines of the same thing, where they hope to capture both extremes of kind of this superhero content and storytelling, and just this style of storytelling. I guess it's like the power fantasies, and but wrapped in the human drama of existing and just being who you are. Like, might be going off on a tangent there, but I hope you can see the lines I'm trying to draw, where it's like you have something that's like nailing it, like this last season of Invincible was nailing it so good, but then with The Boys, you're trying to, instead of respecting the source material, you're trying to take what you think will sell or find appealing or grab people's attention, and kind of ripping it away from, like, the skeleton of what it actually is. And you can kind of see that with like what they did with Gen V, where it was like, no, fuck The Boys. Like, they've completely abandoned The Boys in The Boys show. So it's like, that's why this show has nothing anymore, because they, for some reason, I don't know if something's going on with the writing, but they cannot seem to give The Boys the respect they need. And they keep trying to sideline it to Gen V, or like these other characters, Starlight. Like, the fact that Starlight had a random side quest straight out of X-Men 2, where she goes to tell her family about herself, and then literally the same thing that happened in X2 happens to her, where her brother betrays her, and blah 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 blah. Like, it was, I thought I was watching X-Men the movie. Straight up. Wait, was that X1 or X2? I can't recall, but I don't know. The Boys is ultimately like, this is, if I could give any predictions on where this is gonna go, like where I want it to go, I just want Homelander to kill everyone. I'm honestly like, they've written everything so bad, they've ruined so many of the characters, and just like sent this thing into a nosedive happily, that I literally just want Homelander to destroy everyone, because that's all, like that's what this show deserves. And maybe, yeah, maybe Kimiko will get some kind of chest laser beam, which makes no fucking sense. Yeah, maybe they'll be able to weaken Homelander and take some of the V1 away. Maybe they'll use the virus and Butcher will kill everyone. Maybe, you know, like, it'd be cool if they killed all the Supes, but I don't think they do that to a lot of the characters. Like, they're too committed to all of the worst aspects. Like, they've literally just attached themselves and clung to the worst aspects of the show, and they just continue to amplify them. And it makes you realize, like, the people aren't writing this for the fans, or I don't know, just feel like they're writing it for themselves to feel good and be like, haha, look what we did to this thing you enjoyed. And we made you watch 5 seasons of this bullshit. We lured you along and you followed us the entire way. Haha, you fucking idiot. Because the allegories are just too much. And it's just like they're trying too hard to paint some kind of image that just, it ain't it, bro. It ain't it. We got one episode left. One last episode. We've barely had any fights. People have just been talking and killing people. Like, there's no actual, like, engagement, no choreography, really. Like, it's, I hate it. And I want to love it. But what have they done? Even that monologue they gave Butcher about the Spice Girl, like, yeah, it was funny and whatever, but, like, I feel like they're writing all the characters the exact same now. And the only thing that matters is Homelander anymore. So put it in a coffin, yo. Put it in a coffin. She's cooked. This is the show to the fans right now. One last one. You know what I'm saying? This is one last one. One last episode. Cooked. I don't know. I'm trying to make more videos, so like, subscribe, whatever. Let's push through this together, y'all, because this is gonna be a rough one. It's just gonna be full on balls to the walls. They don't give a fuck, but I literally don't know how they're gonna do any of it. Like, it's like I don't even want to think about what they're gonna do, because it's just we're gonna think of things 10 times better than what they're gonna do. That's the reality of it. Peace. Shit.